maybe you've had a close call in an accident of some sort, and you might say to yourself, well, if I had just been at that place in just a minute or two earlier, it would have been curtains for me, right? I mean, how did that happen? It's not because you were smart or clever or had money that you avoided that. You didn't have a crystal ball, so you knew that you had to move out of the way or whatever. It's the grace of God that spared you. You know, a lot of times when tragedy strikes or some kind of disaster strikes of some sort, a lot of people ask the question, why do bad things happen to good people? It's a very common question, and actually it's a very common objection that most people have to the idea of there being a God or there being a good God. And so, and in a sense, I think that's kind of understandable because it appeals to people's sense of fairness. It doesn't seem fair to us, you know, that you have little babies or young children or innocent people that get caught up in accidents and natural disasters and their life is cut short and all that. So on the one hand, it's kind of understandable. But I think that if you're truly, honestly interested in fairness, then you also have to ask the question, why do good things happen to bad people? And that question isn't asked anywhere near as often as the first question. But it still strikes at this fundamental issue of fairness. I mean, if it's not fair, quote unquote, for a baby to die, you know, prematurely, be it from accident or what have you, it's also not fair that you have some absolute nasty person live a long life, would it? Or another way to put it is, you know, and actually this is what the psalmist said, you know, why do the wicked prosper? That's fundamentally what this question is. Why do good things happen to bad people? Why do the wicked prosper? Why do people who lie and steal and you know, just trample on everyone to get their way, why are they rewarded? You know? I mean, sometimes the law catches up with them and they face justice, but a lot of times they get away with it. And I think the people that say, well, why do bad things happen to good people? I think, in a sense, many times that question is asked in a disingenuous manner because they're not asking the flip side of that question. Why do good things happen to bad people? And as I mentioned, the psalmist phrases it this way, why do the wicked prosper? And it's like what Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount. It rains on the just and the unjust. So, you know, bad things happen to both good and bad people, and good things happen to both bad and good people. And, you know, but actually, as far as Christianity is concerned, Christianity actually has the view that none of us are good. Up until now, well, I'm using the terms good and bad, and when describing people, I'm using them as people commonly use them. But technically, theologically, no one is good but God alone. So, in that sense, none of us deserve anything good to happen to us because we have offended a holy God. And you might say, well, I'm a good person. I haven't murdered anybody. At least a lot of people say, well, at least I'm not a murderer. Maybe I tell a white lie or something like that, but at least I'm not a murderer. But have you ever hated someone? Jesus said that if you hate a person, it's the same as murdering them, because you carry that in your heart. The only thing is that you haven't acted out on it. So in that sense, you're guilty of murder, because you can conform outwardly, but inwardly you still carry that in you. So it doesn't do any good to say, well, at least I haven't murdered anybody, because you've no doubt encountered somebody whose guts you absolutely hate, you can't stand, and you wish they were just. We've all been there. Even not quite the same, but kind of related too. Have you ever borne false witness against somebody? Have you ever spread rumors about someone or gossiped about someone? That's a form of murder too, if you want to think about it. We call it character assassination, right? When you're spreading malicious untruths about someone. Yeah, you haven't taken a knife to them and killed them, but you've killed their reputation. And how does a person get his reputation back once it's destroyed? Through, whether it's through his own fault or through no fault of his own. That you're not loving that person when you spread rumors and malicious gossip about them. So all of us have done that kind of thing, right? And you may say, well, I don't steal. At least I don't steal. But let me ask you this. Have you ever fudged numbers on your taxes? Have you ever padded an expense account? Have you ever taken home company supplies? Have you ever clocked in for someone? All those are forms of stealing, and we've all done it. We've all done something similar to that. We don't think of it as stealing, as in the cops are going to arrest you, but you're taking something from someone, and you have no right to take it, whether it be time or possessions or money or what have you. And obviously, these are just two examples, but we could come up with more examples where, we're falling short of this ideal that we have about, should be nice to people and respect others and all that. We've all done it. So, bottom line is, I'm a crumb bum, you're a crumb bum, we all are crumb bums. And that's part of the fallen human nature. So yeah, we have this common objection, this common excuse, if you will, for not believing in God. When we say, oh, why do bad things happen to good people? I could never believe in a God that would be so cruel as to, kill babies before they're born, although that's a different story because people do that too, right? But as far as that particular point goes, there's a lot of people who get mad at God for taking a baby's life, the baby that, like a pregnant woman, something happens to her and the baby dies. And they get mad at God for doing that, but then they don't get mad at women that go out and kill their own babies in an abortion mill. So there's kind of a double standard there. But anyways, a lot of people say, well, I could never believe in a God who could be so cruel as to, allow children to die in a flood, or allow somebody to die in a car crash, or allow somebody to die a horrible death of cancer, and so on. Why do bad things happen to good people? They don't want to believe in a God like that. But as I said, I think it's basically kind of a cop-out. It's an excuse for not believing God, for denying the existence of God. And it's kind of dishonest because they're not answering the flip question to that, which is why do good things happen to bad people? Yeah, that also is offensive if you stop and think about it. Why does the thief get away with it? Why does the murderer get away with it? Why do corrupt politicians get away with it? I mean, we could give plenty of examples of that, but somehow people don't use that as an excuse for not believing God. The fact of the matter is, when all these tragedies and stuff strikes, the fact that anybody survives, the fact that any good thing happens to us, that's strictly because of the grace of God. Like maybe you've had a close call in an accident of some sort, and you might say to yourself, well, if I had just been at that place in just a minute or two earlier, it would have been curtains for me, right? I mean, how did that happen? It's not because you were smart or clever or had money that you avoided that. You didn't have a crystal ball, so you knew that you had to move out of the way or whatever. It's the grace of God that spared you. It's the grace of God that gives us any good thing. And by the grace of God, I mean that it is a gift from God. It's nothing that we deserve. Because we don't deserve to have anything good to us. Since we're all guilty of not being perfect, we all deserve bad things to happen to us. So the real question is, why do good things happen to bad people? Because it rains on the just and the unjust. It's the grace of God that gives us all these blessings in life. And in particular, when there's a situation where you have a close call, you narrowly escape death or narrowly, escape grievous injury or that kind of stuff. That's the grace of God. It's a gift, and He's giving you the gift of extra time. You didn't deserve that. So what are you going to do with that extra time? You've been given an extension on life. So yeah, I think that why do bad things happen to good people? That's the wrong question to ask. The real question is, why do good things happen to bad people? Why do good things happen to me? Why do good things happen to you? And you might say, well, I haven't had any good things happen to me. Well, did you wake up this morning? If you're watching this, you woke up this morning. That's a good thing. You didn't die in your sleep for whatever reason, right? So in other words, you're still alive, presumably. And even now, I'm sure you can think back to when you were younger, especially like a teenager. Teenagers are notorious for doing really dumb stuff. Everybody does it. But we survived because of the grace of God. So that's a blessing. You woke up this morning, you're still alive, you're still here, even though you did dumb stuff how many times in your life. You probably have your health. I'm assuming you do, but of course there's a lot of people that are suffering with health issues, either chronic issues or diseases or something like that. But the thing is, you're still breathing, you're still hanging in there. So I'm sure you could, if you sat down and really thought about it, you could list blessing after blessing after blessing. Usually we think of like things like, money or having a car or having a nice house or that kind of stuff. But there's a lot more blessings, than just material possessions You have enough food. You don't go to bed hungry. You have children. You have wonderful children. You have wonderful neighbors, whatever. List all your blessings and ask yourself, what did I do to deserve this? Was it because you're smart? No. Was it because you're so clever? Was it because you have a ton of money? No. It's only by the grace of God that we have any of these blessings. Only the grace of God. So, in this life, in this fallen world, tragedy will happen. And instead of getting mad at God for allowing bad things to happen to good people, be grateful that He allows good things to happen to bad people. Be grateful that He allows good things to happen to you and to me, right? So I hope I've given you something to think about. Please like and subscribe and share this with a friend. And I'll talk to you later. Bye. Anyways, the breeze is refreshing. It's nice watching the tall pine trees just kind of sway in the wind. It's amazing how flexible they are compared to the oak trees. The oak trees are just kind of there. Very little swaying, but the pine trees are like that. Anyways.